So the question comes up often of social media and its influence. Why is it so influential today? What's changed? I mean, social media, I mean, it's crazy the way that we feel it's got influence. Let's take a look at some of the changes that have occurred as a result of social media. So if we look at journalism, so where do we get our news from today? I mean, all too often it's really based on some type of social media outlet. So I have a number of news apps on my phone and other social media, whether it be Facebook or Twitter and so forth, that I follow, that I get my news from on a consistent basis. And more than half of the world today gets their news from some type of online social media service. So it's automatically impacting what we do. In fact, journalists themselves, 65% of global journalists say they do much of their research online using social media for stories that they do. So it's already starting to change that whole idea of where we get information from, where journalists get information from, where they validate information. So that's kind of one piece. Look at law enforcement. So 4 out of 5 police officers across the globe will say that they use social media to either investigate a crime, which we didn't have 20 years ago, or to communicate to the broader public about a crime. So in our local community back in Michigan, there is an individual that tweets out crimes that are in the area that's tied directly to the police force. So I get to see it all the time. We didn't have that 20 years ago. So that's changed how I get my information about trying to feel safe. Let's look at education. So in the United States, 4 out of 5 college professors or university professors say they use social media to teach students or to engage in conversation. In Europe, it's 2.5 out of 5, so they're still a little bit behind what the US is. But educators all across the world are leveraging social media to educate students. So if you're going to college and you're being indoctrinated through social media, of course you're going to be used to using social media when you get out, which is it makes sense. Now those are some of the positive things I think that have come out. The reach of information is positive. But when you're looking at the impact of social media, you also have to really look at the negative side of that. There's what's called clinically now social media addiction, where in the United States they say of those people that are online, so in the United States about 90% of the population is online, 72% of those use social media. Of that 72%, they say 16 minutes of every hour is used on social media. Now, addiction has all kinds of problems. That doesn't sound so bad initially, but if you think about the withdrawal that addiction can cause, about the suicides that have gone on because, oh boy, I'm not getting responses on my Facebook, which is true. These are true stories that have happened. We've got to be really cautious about the negative impact of some of these things. We talk about the influence of social media. There's all these great things that it's influenced and changed the culture and so forth, but there's also so many bad things that it's created. The wasted time that I referenced. Again, this whole idea of addiction. What about false information? So there's a saying out there, it says, just because it's online, it's true. We know how false that really is. We don't know exactly what's true and what's not. So we've got to be able to sift through all of that garbage potentially that's out there, and we've got to think for ourselves on what's true, what's not true. So it's completely influenced the way we get information. It's completely influenced the way we look at education, but it's also creating some negative changes in the way in which people interact, the withdrawal, the depression that comes with it, and so forth.